good people, happy Friday to everyone out there and welcome back to the channel. Today I'll be sharing my thoughts and feelings on the Ready to Love DC Reunion Part 1. And for the purposes of this video, I'm going to do things a little different. I'm going to rank my top 10 moments for Part 1 of the reunion and give my opinion for each moment. So without any further delay, let's jump right in. At number 10, we have Nephew Tommy being absent from the reunion. Well folks, it turns out that Nephew Tommy is absent because he was diagnosed with COVID-19. So instead, his hosting duties have been given to Tanika Ray, and I must say, her skills as the show's host are pretty good. She allows the cast members to speak, and she challenges them when they say something crazy or they need to give an explanation for something. So overall, I was pleased with how she hosted Part 1 of the reunion. At number 9, we have Tasia walking off the stage. In the previews, we are led to believe that Tasia walked off the stage because she didn't want to fight somebody who was talking reckless to her. But it turns out that Tasia was just over everybody yelling and going back and forth like a bunch of kids. She also mentioned that her mother was in the hospital, and that was some much added stress to her. I can understand what Tasia was going through, and I commend her for leaving, because these folks are too old to be going back and forth like they did. At number 8, we have Kamil, Olivia, and Shay. You see, apparently Kamil has two other personalities that show up over the course of the season. Olivia and Shay. I always felt something was wrong with Kamil, but acknowledging that she has multiple personalities takes the cake. I know she's having fun with all this, but this is not a good look for her. At number 7, we have the Sydney and Phil update. After showing us Sydney and Phil's highlights through the season, we learn that Sydney and Phil are still dating exclusively, and they look pretty comfortable with one another. But when Tanika Ray brings up the topic of marriage, Sydney tries to dance around it while Phil makes it clear that he is dating with a purpose, and marriage is what he sees as the end goal. At number 6, we have Tyrone clearing things up. After we see Tyrone's highlights over the course of the season, Tyrone addresses his delivery during the scene with Carrie. Tyrone is given the chance to tell Carrie how he would have addressed her differently if he had the opportunity, and brother Tyrone lays it on thick with Carrie, which led me to believe that if Tyrone really shot his shot with her that night, Carrie would have pounced on him like a cheetah on a rabbit. Tyrone also takes this time to address the "Shiloh is my wife" comment that social media took out of context, and the way he explained it made perfect sense. And it also made me vow to take all the jokes back that I had about Tyrone being in love with Shiloh. Eventually, of course. At number 5, we have Kamil getting called out. After we see Cornelius and Kamil's journey over the course of the season, Courtney calls Kamil out for being aggressive towards other women who wanted to get to know Cornelius. As Kamil tries to defend herself, Aisha chimes in and calls Kamil out for being aggressive and disrespectful. Kamil is truly showing her immature sides during this entire scene, which was disappointing in my opinion. At number 4, we have Shawn getting vindicated. After showing Shawn's highlights over the course of the season, Shawn is asked why he said hallelujah when he was eliminated from the show. Shawn shared that he felt there was pressure to find something that might not be there, and he really wasn't trying to fake the funk. The topic of Shawn meeting Sabrina's friends came up, and I'm glad it did because plenty of people on social media completely trashed Shawn after this scene, calling him trifling and a player. Some even went as far as to attack him because they thought he didn't have a job. But Sabrina apologized to Shawn for how her friends attacked him, and Shawn accepted her apology. By the end of the scene, we as the audience understand that the attacks on Shawn throughout the season were not warranted. At number 3, we have tensions between Kamil and Sabrina. During the Cornelius and Kamil segment, Sabrina is shown making several faces. When the host asks Sabrina about her thoughts regarding Cornelius and Kamil, Sabrina replies that whatever they're doing has nothing to do with her, as well as what they're doing is irrelevant to what she has going on in her life. Can somebody say nice nasty? Later on in the episode, Kamil is making some crazy comments, and Sabrina is overheard saying that she might have to take her shoes off. Now we all know what happens when a woman takes her shoes off, but I don't really see Sabrina being the fighting type. At number 2, we have drama at the retreat. During the later part of the episode, Sydney, Sabrina, Aisha, and Courtney talk about the Brown Girl Squad. Sabrina raises her voice, saying that the Brown Girl Squad does some foul stuff to other women, and Zydia claims that the other women were never excluded from the Brown Girl Squad. And during this entire interaction, Zydia is given the biggest, fakest smile I've ever seen. and Zadia's actions cause Sabrina to be very bothered by it. Zadia eventually leaves the stage, and Sabrina is hurling insults at her. Naeem then decides to add his 2 cents and defend Zadia by hinting that the other women were jealous because most of the men picked Zadia as their top pick early on in the competition, which even I would say is quite a bit of a stretch. But Sydney calls out the men for not checking Naeem, and she insinuates that he needs to get his own peach, for being involved in women's business, of course. Aisha also calls out Kamil for threatening the other women at the dinner table during the retreat. Kamil denies threatening anybody, and the host provides footage of the event to prove otherwise. Can somebody say, got him? And at number 1, we have the Frank and Mumeen update. To make a long story short, they are no longer together. When the camera stopped rolling, Frank's true side was exposed and he cut Mumeen off. Apparently he wasn't ready to be in a relationship, at least not with Mumeen, and he failed to communicate with her in a timely manner. This causes Mumeen to tear up, and for the rest of the cast members to turn against Frank. Frank gives a bunch of excuses as to why he felt the way he did, but nobody's trying to hear it. I can't say that I'm surprised at this because the show has a pretty low success rate when it comes to couples who stay together by the end of the show. But hopefully Mumeen finds her true love in the future. So on a scale of 1 to 10, I'll give this episode a 5. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't good either. It was just blah. And I'm really not looking forward to seeing part 2 either. But I'm looking forward to the season finally being over. So this marks the end of the review. Please let me know what you thought about the review or the episode in the comment section below, and I'll be sure to reply to each and every comment. Until next time, stay tuned and stay safe. Peace.